Welcome, everyone. I'm Steve Adubato. You know, a lot of people are wondering, hey, what happened on November the 2nd, 2021? We're taping on November the 16th. We're going to try to make sense of it. It'll be seen later. We may date ourselves, but we have a superstar panel to break it down. First, we're joined by our good friend, Dr. Ben Dworkin, director of the Rowan Institute for Public Policy and Citizenship at Rowan University, one of our higher ed partners. Tom Bergeron, owner and editor of ROI-NJ, and also Dr. Renee Formicola, professor at political science at Seton University, another higher ed partner of ours. Hey, Ben, let me start with you. Real quick, the most significant, quote, message that we should be taking, I know there are a lot of mixed messages, the biggest message we take from the 2021 election, November 2nd, is?
There's really two, and I'll say them quickly. The first is that if you don't get things done, your party will take a hit. And I think Democratic dysfunction in Washington, D.C. Clearly depressed Democrats. They just weren't excited to be Democrats heading into the election. And it certainly motivated Republicans. And the second key takeaway for 2021 was really just how angry, frustrated, and bitter the electorate was. We all saw that gas prices were going up. We all saw the trouble with trying to get a new car if you wanted to get a more fuel-efficient car to avoid paying these high gas prices. We saw frustration with parents who were worried about COVID, learning loss, who were worried about having to take time off every time their unvaccinated kid got a sniffle because they had to spend 3 days getting a PCR test. We saw this. We just didn't quite appreciate how motivating it would be for people, because this was the first time a lot of folks in New Jersey had a chance to express that frustration.
Dr. Formicola, is that how it works? Whoever you're mad, if things are not going well, gas prices, you can't get bread, you can't get a turkey. Hopefully, we're taping before Thanksgiving. Get it? Hopefully, you had it. It was great. You got to blame somebody. So whoever's in office, Joe Biden's not running. It's got to be Murphy. Now, he won, but he won by close to 3 percentage points. The polls showed him winning much bigger than that in a state with 1.1 million more Democrats than Republicans. Does somebody have to take the hit, Joe Renee?
Yes. And unfortunately, incumbency can either be a blessing or a curse. And if you don't have something that you can show for your time in office, you're on the defensive. The only way you can be on the offensive is if you have some kind of a great record that somebody else has to beat. And that certainly did not come across with the voters.
But Tom, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your point, because Governor Murphy argued he had a great first round, if you will,
that's part of the problem. He didn't realize that he didn't have a great first round. He didn't see the anger underneath. He didn't understand how a lot of people were really dissatisfied with what he had done. Especially if, all right, go ahead.
No, how about, and then I want you to jump on this, and Tom as well. Raising the minimum wage, paid family leave, increasing, we're involved in a child care initiative, Reimagine Child Care, more money for child care than ever before, which supports the economy if people don't have child care, right? Doing a whole range of things, the legalization of marijuana. Joe Renee, and then Tom, he doesn't get points for those things?
He gets points, but they're overshadowed by the other problems that occurred. The pocketbook crisis, the inflation, all those kinds of things. And the final word was, hey, if taxes are not for you, then this isn't your state. Are you kidding me? I mean, that just, as far as I'm concerned, that sunk him in my mind with a lot of voters.
Tom Bergeron from our media partner at ROI-NJ, do you think when Governor Murphy said, if taxes are your issue, New Jersey's probably not your state, he wishes in that moment he had never said it, or does he just believe it?
Well, it's a little bit of both. And I was there when he said it. It was down at Rowan. It was stunning to hear him say that. He does believe it. Let me circle back. You asked about the biggest takeaway or the biggest message from this election. We'll know about that a year from now on whether Murphy did get the message. He seemingly has come out saying, no, I won. Everybody loves my policies. Everything is great. I'm the first Democrat to get reelected in 40 years. He seemingly missed the mark on what the message that's being sent. Now, a couple other things that you mentioned, does he get credit for? This was something that I saw going up to. He does get credit from some things. I'm going to turn to the business angle from a business publication. Between Fiserv, between Hacks, between Party City, between Bergeron, there were a whole lot of business successes that he never touched upon. He ran a different race. He ran a pro-masking vaccine, got us out of this race, and that he thought that was playing to the electorate, and I think it went against him. He didn't mention his business successes at all, which is unusual for a progressive, perhaps. He stayed away from that, oddly.
And Ben, we are, by the way, we'll put up websites for everyone's connection, everyone's organization, and they can find out more there. Ben, let me ask you, we talk a lot offline as well about politics, but also, well, I'm more fascinated by policy than I am politics, but you can't separate them, can you?
No, it's almost always. And, you know, the old adage is that good policy makes good politics. But again, and I think, you know, because this was mentioned before, you had two things going on here. First of all, you had a Murphy campaign that did not sell its record particularly well.
I'm sorry for interrupting, Ben. Wasn't it good enough to say Donald Trump is dangerous? We don't like him in New Jersey. Jack Ciattarelli went to the Stop the Steal rally. He'll be another Donald Trump. That's my campaign.
If that's all you took away from the Murphy campaign, then yeah, there were plenty of other reasons to not vote, you know, to vote for him or against him. I don't think that was a particularly effective message. If you walked around and you asked people, look, Governor Murphy deserves re-election because a lot of people couldn't answer that, because they were frustrated, because they were overwhelmed by the pocketbook issues that the professor was talking about, and that they were willing to give him credit. I mean, the polls kept showing they're giving Murphy credit for getting us through the pandemic, but they weren't ready to vote for him because of it. You know, they were ready to tell a pollster, yeah, he did an okay job, the New Jersey thing, but the people who were upset about it, the minority of New Jerseyans in a poll who were upset, they were going to vote because they were upset about it. And that's why I think we saw a surge in Republican votes this year.
By the way, to the folks down at Rowan, congratulations. They had a whole range of forums, including there was a major debate that was held down at Rowan in this gubernatorial race. Dr. Formicola, let me ask you, Donald Trump matter at all in the 2021 gubernatorial race in New Jersey? Obviously, Virginia is Virginia. Youngkin, the governor, the gubernatorial candidate of the Republican Party, said, Mr. Trump, no, you could stay away. I think Jack Ciattarelli said, no, you could stay away. Did Trump play a major role in the outcome of this race?
No, I think that Trump becomes more irrelevant every day. The voters have a very short memory, and he becomes more irrelevant as other people step up to the plate. And all you have to do is look at the scene today and who is stepping up. Governor Chris Christie. I saw him on television this morning. What's he doing? I've seen, every single day I can see DeSantis, I can see Rubio, I can see Cruz, I can see other people making their play. And
2024.
That's right. And I do campaign politics, and I can see this as the invisible primary that's already going on. And, one of the people in the primary who is not doing enough or having enough credibility at this point is Trump, because the Never Trump coalition is going to die.
You don't see it.
I think once Republicans get into the next election, the Never Trumpers will disappear and they'll come home, and they'll be in the Republican camp again. The base will be back.
We'll moderate that. We'll monitor that. Hey, Tom, let me ask you something. As a business publication, as a public policy-oriented publication, name three major issues that Governor Murphy, will have to deal with in the second term, with a very different legislature, with a new president of the Senate. Senator Sweeney is out at Senate President. Senator Scutari is in. Craig Coughlin is the Speaker of the lower house. What do you think the top two issues are, let's say, and how will the legislature deal with him differently? Controlled by the Democrats, all three branches, if you will.
Well, it's controlled by the Democrats, but let's be clear, the legislature, most people believe, is no longer controlled by Murphy. They laid down for him during COVID under the idea of, this guy's got all the power, we need to stand by him, we'll keep our spot, we'll get through this. Some people saw how close the elections were. Some people were eliminated, like Senator Sweeney and a number of other people. And now they're saying, okay, wait a minute, why are we laying down for this guy? The electorate doesn't.
What do you mean lay down for him? I don't even understand what that means. What do you mean lay down for him?
He got everything he wanted. He had complete control. He got the $4 billion when he got rid of the state of emergency.
You mean the borrowing of the $4 billion?
$4 billion. He said, yeah, I'll get rid of the state of emergency, but I'm still going to keep these half dozen other things. They didn't challenge him on anything. He made all of the decisions by executive order. They went along with it, sort of like, we're just going to ride this coattail. We're going to get through the pandemic. We're going to go from here. I didn't see a whole lot of opposition to anything that he said or wanted to do. He's been calling the shots for 4 years now. And I think everyone just went along with it. The pandemic, look, we'll get reelected. We'll figure out what's going on. I don't think that's the case anymore.
So, Ben, let me ask you, you understand polls, you understand democracy, you understand voter moves. The governor, after the election, again, took a little bit of time to find out. He said, listen, we're going to proceed on a progressive agenda. He never said far left, but some people perceive that. And there are a lot of Democrats in the legislature who are more middle of the road. He says he's going to proceed, and the message he got was to proceed. Is that not the message?
Well, look, I think one of the things that we just have to understand is that now he's a lame duck governor. And which means,
what does that mean? Explain to folks.
Yeah, sure. That means he can't run for re-election again. This is his last term as a governor, which means the moment this election was called, well, and starting really before, but the new election season for 2025 began. The number of people in the legislature who are going to now start trying to position themselves to be the next governor of a Democratic state is going to be huge, and that's going to affect all of the politics that are going on in Trenton, because everybody understands. I think most people understand. Let's put it that way. That it's very difficult to be a third term of anybody, and so you've got to distinguish yourself in some way in order
so how does that affect policy?
Have a chance. So
but how does that affect policy? The things that need to be done in New Jersey to make our lives better.
Right, and so what's going to happen is that Phil Murphy, because he's governor, is still going to appoint the judges he wants to appoint. He's still going to have the ability to sign and all the different types of veto powers that he has to shape legislation. But what we'll see is that his agenda is not nearly going to be as important as the agenda that's going to emerge from the state assembly and the state senate.
Real quick, 2022 matters. There are 5 seats that if the Republicans in the lower house of the United States Congress, if they take 5 Democratic seats, they take control of the lower house, which changes everything in Washington. Nancy Pelosi is no longer Speaker of the House. At least 3 of those seats, Dr. Formicola, are in New Jersey, with Democrats currently holding them in pretty vulnerable swing districts. Do you believe New Jersey could, if Republicans take those seats from Democrats, could ultimately be the state that decides who controls Congress, at least in the lower house?
I think we might like to believe that, that we're that powerful.
Chitterelli won those districts big. Chitterelli won 3 of those districts big where Democrats are currently the members of Congress.
I know, but there are, 435 seats that we're talking about in the entire Congress. And so, I don't know that will make the major difference. I think it can play a part, but I don't think we're going to end up being the kingmaker based on those 3 seats.
Tom, do you think it's just about some of us in New Jersey wanting to make it about ourselves?
Every state wants to make it about themselves. Yeah. No, that'll be interesting going forward.
But let me ask you this before I let you go. We're not a show that does horse race politics. We try to understand what's going on here. Do you think Jack Chitterelli is the voice of the Republican Party in the state of New Jersey moving forward? He is the voice, not Donald Trump, and frankly, not Chris Christie.
Right now, I think that's a fair reaction. Now, again, this is a candidate that most people thought didn't formally get the ground game that he needed, but it looked like he did. There's nobody else out there. If not him, who is going to be the question? Now, as Ben said, other people are going to start jockeying for position. People are going to start moving around, trying to get that spot. But right now, he's going to be the voice going forward. And after what he almost pulled off, there's a lot of reason for people to jump behind him.
To Tom, to Ben, to Joe, Renee, I want to thank you so much. We'll continue our discussion about this election and what it means moving forward, particularly from a policy perspective. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Adubato. That's a great panel. Be back after this.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Hackensack Meridian Health, NJM Insurance Group, Valley Bank. The Fidelco Group. Choose New Jersey. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Suez North America. Johnson & Johnson. And by Summit Health. Promotional support provided by Meadowlands Chamber. And by bestofnj.com.
Hi, I'm Abby. You might see me as an ordinary person, but I've been living with a brain injury since 2018. Opportunity Project gave me hope, and I've gained confidence through job skill training and helping my family. Despite my challenges with memory, I see a possibility to keep improving.
If you have a brain injury, you don't have to face your road to recovery alone. Learn more about Opportunity Project and its partnership with Children's Specialized Hospital.